We've got Pauline and Shane joining us from Fauna Rescue South Australia from the Talking Batty education team. Welcome both.
Hi,
Thanks, Bianca.
thank you.
Good to have you both here.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, it's been probably 6 months since you were here last, wasn't it? Maybe a bit more.
Yeah, maybe longer,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, we're due for a chat and an update.
Yes,
We need an update on things, and if people didn't hear the show last time, let's just go through a few of the basics. First, start off explaining what you do.
Okay, well, we are both with Fauna Rescue of South Australia. We're both in the bat team, so flying fox and microbats, and we rescue, rehabilitate and release the animals. Pauline and I also started the Talking Batty education team. So we found out, going out to a lot of our rescues and talking to people, that there was a great need for education on flying foxes and microbats. So we started to do that, and it's a bit over a year ago. It's taken off, it's been very successful, and so we go out and we educate anyone who would like to know more about them: schools, community groups, probus groups, libraries, councils, anyone who would like some education, and it's just amazing how it's taken off from word of mouth.
Yeah.
And I also do the hotline, which is great.
Yeah, you do.
Yes. So.
I have rung that hotline, woken you up at about 11 at night.
Yeah, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah. You always answer that call.
Yes,
You're
we
both so
always do.
passionate about this cause, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. We're 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even for advice, if someone's not even sure whether they should ring in or not, just ring in if you see a bat that's out during the day or at night time and on power lines or down low in a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we just go through the checklist for those who didn't hear the last talk we did? When should they call you? I mean, you just said it then, but like it's good to say, you know, about if you see them in the day, because they're not meant to be out in the day. If you could just go through a few of the basics.
Okay, so if you find them in your backyard during the day or going to work, you see them hanging on a power line or in a tree, anytime during the day out of the colony, they are in trouble. Ring immediately, because the sooner we can get a volunteer out there, a rescuer out there, the better chance that bat has of survival. Even if you believe that they're deceased, we still need to get someone out there. For one reason is that deceased, we need to take their stats. We keep their stats. That keeps us informed of what's happening in the colony. And two is that if it's a mum with a baby on board, you can't see the baby because she's got her wings wrapped around the baby. We need to check on that, and it's baby season now, so that would be relevant. Also, if they're low in a tree or on a trunk of a tree, in a garden, people have even seen them on footpaths and think that they can take off. And one I collected, it was only just a month or so ago, wasn't it? It was on the footpath, been there 2 days.
Alive?
So no.
No.
It was deceased by the time I got there. We don't know, if it was alive before, but she just said, oh, I thought that, that it would just take off, fly off. They can't fly off from the ground, so they need to have height to take off, and
because they drop and then
they
fly.
drop and then, yes, that's right, to get lift. So we need, as far as I'm concerned, I'm on the hotline from Tuesday morning to Friday morning. I have that phone with me all the time, and I'm happy to talk about anything. If anyone's got any issues about seeing a bat or even being concerned, a lot of people are concerned because they've got dogs in the backyard and they think that bats are coming into their backyard. I'm more than happy to talk to people and alleviate all their concerns.
Yes. And also bats stay away from humans and dogs, don't
That's
they?
right.
They don't want to be close.
No, they don't.
So what are the odds of them coming close? Then very slim.
Zero, I would say.
So people don't need to be worried.
Unless of course the bat is injured or sick. Yeah. And then you just put the dog inside, give us a call, we get someone out.
So should we just cover the if we see them in the backyard or the fruit netting and that sort of thing? That's pretty important. I know we're sort of skipping down, but should we talk about that?
Yeah. I think you want to talk about the netting.
Fruit netting?
Yeah, because you've done quite a few rescues.
Yes, fruit netting. A lot of people don't realise how much damage incorrect fruit netting can do, and it's not only to bats, but it's to a lot of other animals as well. So get caught up in the netting. So any fruit netting that you can put your finger through, is the holes are too big and it causes a lot of damage in animals. And animals such as snakes can even get caught up in them, which means a danger to family, to your children or your family pets. If you've got a snake caught up in fruit netting and you let the kids and the dogs out, but for the animals it's absolutely horrific because they get caught up in it. They get so terrified that they tangle themselves further and further and further and try to chew their way out, and they lose limbs, and it's they're pretty horrific. So we've done some not very nice rescues of those, and we always tell people fruit netting bigger, if you can fit your finger through it, it's too big. So there is a wildlife friendly netting available. I'm not sure if Bunnings have it at the moment, but a lot of hardware places are getting it in, and it's available online. Very, very small holes in the netting, and it's really imperative if you're netting fruit to use that, because the suffering that it can cause is it's immense. So we always tell people either use that or use the fruit bags that you can get. Now, I always use net fruit bags when I pick up my fruit and vegetables. I don't use plastic. Those kind of things you can use also to net fruit in bunches, and it makes it easier to harvest your fruit too, because you only have to take off the bag to pick the fruit you need, and then you can move that bag to another branch or another lot of fruit. So they're really great, and people can contact us too on our talkingbatty@gmail.com email if they would like to know more about it, and we can help with that. So with fruit season or spring and fruit season coming up, we just hope that people are using the correct netting. It's probably going to be illegal very soon, because since November last year it's been illegal in Victoria, and it's apparent that other states will soon follow that. So to have that kind of netting on your trees will be illegal. So,
Illegal?
yeah, it will be illegal. Yes.
As in the one with the big holes?
The ones with the big
Yeah,
holes.
okay,
Yes,
yeah,
in
yeah.
Victoria it's already illegal to
Right.
use those. So yeah, so we're hoping that will go Australia wide, which means that stores won't be able to sell it in the first place.
Exactly.
So, yes.
Excellent news.
Yes.
Excellent. All right, and they'll contact you to get their hands on some, or the fruit bags, like you said.
Yes.
I think I picked some up from Coles or Woolies. They're really cheap, like $1 or something.
Yes. Yeah, and they're
Cheap.
great because you don't need to net a whole tree,
Exactly.
and you don't need to pull it down every time you want to harvest some fruit. You can just take off the bag off of the fruit that you want.
Yeah, they're really quite annoying, aren't they? The big nets with the big holes in it.
Oh,
Well, the tree
they're
branches
terrible.
grow through them too.
Yeah,
Yes.
they
So,
do.
you know, and then they wreck the
They do.
the netting.
And people don't put them, you know, even if they sort of put them quite tight along the tree, it wouldn't be so bad. But a lot of people just throw them over loosely. And that's where it's really damaging, because an animal can get caught in it and wriggling around, and they've got no hope.
Oh, okay. All right. So baby season, we're in that now.
We are, yes, just starting.
And that's for how many months?
Yes. Well, they start birthing anywhere from September, October and November. And so, you know, we do have September are actually early births, but we've seen mothers out there with babies now. So we're already starting our colony checks to check for fallen babies or mums in trouble. So that's that goes on for a little while. So this is the time that we can start to really get busy. And it's also the time we want people to be aware more than ever that when there's a rescue that's needed from an adult flying fox, that could be a mother with a baby on board. So the mothers carry their babies on board with them for 4 weeks to start with the whole time, and then after that it's periodically, but they fly around with the babies on board. So that, you know, things can happen, the babies can drop, and but mothers can also get electrocuted on power lines, or they can get caught in fruit netting. The injuries that are sustained by the mother could be the life ending for a mother, but we could be able to save the baby. And I have rescued a mother flying fox who sadly died from an electrocution, but her baby survived. So I raised him and released him back out into the colony. So more than ever, as Pauline said, the best information we can give to anyone is the sooner you phone us, the bigger chance that we have of that animal surviving. But in baby season, it's particularly important because even if we can't save a mother, we can often save and hand read a baby.
Can we have the number? We'll say the number a few times. but-
8486 1139.
Right, and one more time.
8486 1139.
Okay, that's good to have in a fridge. What else? I just want to make sure I cover everything. Colony size, why they move and changing colony sizes. Should we just touch on that a little bit?
Yes, yeah, well the colony, we do monthly fly-out counts in the colony, and that number moves quite a lot through the years. When I first started with Fauna Rescue, there was about 3,000 in that colony, and of course they didn't come to South Australia until 2010. So I started, it was 3,000, then we went up to 10,000 and 18,000. In January this year, we got up to 36,000. However, the last count that we did last month, there are just below 18,000. So half of that colony have moved out. And this is what happens, and this is why people think that they'll say, oh, they're in plague proportions, the colony's getting huge, we're not going to be able to cope with it, and that doesn't happen at all. The colony will only sustain the amount of animals that can survive there. So this colony, they have moved, half of those since January have moved out elsewhere looking for food, and their whole range goes all along the east coast of Australia. So they move up and down all year wherever the food is. So it could move up again any time, or it could move down again any time, but that is their life, that's how they live.
So smart. And so they might come back then.
Oh,
in
they
6
might,
months.
yes,
They
they
do a
might well.
swap, like some might leave, some might come back because
They
they'll
might.
work out that there's space for me.
Yes, but even in the colony that we have, the numbers in the colony, they're not always the same ones who are there. They're coming and going. So they're not always the same bats that are in the colony.
But how far are they travelling?
Oh, they travel, grey-headed flying foxes, they travel through Victoria, New South Wales and up into Queensland.
Okay. What about country sightings?
Country
So,
sightings.
yeah, being on the hotline, I've had quite a few calls. There was the Barossa Valley, which Shane and I went to explore to see whether there were any bats there that were, well, maybe there for a few weeks, but and they also follow waterways. So we went through there all day looking for them. Talked to a lot of the Vinerons and other people. We went into the shops and left pamphlets and things like that to let people know that 2 had been deceased. I collected both of those, and that was in the same day, on one day. So for that's unusual. So that was in the Barossa Valley, and then there was there's been Whyalla, and then there was Mount Remarkable. A ranger rang in saying that there was a flying fox on the barbed wire, and she was still alive. And it was a bit difficult. That was a difficult one to wonder what we're going to do. It was fortunate that his partner, who he went and drove back to the office, was vaccinated, and she had worked at the zoo. So she had handled bats before.
Vaccinated for the bats. Bats.
The rabies vaccine.
Yes.
Yeah. So she was able to handle the bat and remove her off the barbed wire fence. And fortunately, she had no injuries. They sent me all the photos. Everything had to be done by phone, just being on the phone, and then photographing, sending me photos, me getting back, and also consulting with Linda Collins. She's our consultant, so consulting with her as well. And so they put the female bat on the trunk of a tree. She went right up to the top and flew off. It was beautiful. That was a great outcome. But
very rare for barbed wire.
Very rare for barbed wire. So she was a very lucky girl that he's driving past and saw her on the fence and rang it in. So he rang her in immediately, no messing around, no thinking, oh, she's going to be there. Like one we went to recently at a school.
Yes.
They had a very high fence with 3 rows of barbed wire, and she she must have been seen by all the families driving past and school teachers and students that day, and yet we didn't get a call in until after lunch. She was alive, however she died about an hour later, wasn't it, in the vets? Yeah. So it could have been a different outcome. There was another one from Edinburgh RAF base. She'd been there 3 days and she was alive but died an hour later in the vets.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, so they're going out, they're out in places that we haven't had before. Also Goolwa, I believe that there's one being called in from there. So, and I'm getting calls from people who say, I've lived in this house 20 years and I've never seen a bat here. Now they're here. It's the food. It's the lack of food. It's our weather. We've had this horrific rain and wind for so long that even my 2 eucalypt trees that are absolutely huge in my backyard, huge, have not had any blossom this year. That's the first time. So people are saying, why are the bats here in my backyard now? Unfortunately, they can't get food somewhere else, so they're going where the food is.
Exactly.
They're not going to be there all the time. They're just, you know, they have to feed, they have to survive. They're doing what they need to do to survive. We have to be patient, we have to be respectful.
Yes. And just before, we've just got a minute or two left, so let's have the number again. And I just want to go through the importance of bats, like if there were no bats, what would happen and what benefit they are to the world or to our community.
Well, they're long-range seed dispersers and pollinators. That's their ecological role. So without them, many of the trees that we have wouldn't be there. It's they actually propagate and pollinate up to 75% of the eucalypts along the east coast of Australia. So without those, the other animals who rely on trees, well, they're a keystone species, which actually means that other plants and animals rely on them for survival. So if they weren't around, there'd be plenty of other animals that wouldn't be around also.
Okay.
And the number?
Yeah.
8486 1139.
And is there anything else we want to say? Anything else you want to cover before we wrap it up?
I think it's just imperative that they ring as soon as they see a bat out of its usual place of abode, which is the Botanic Park. Just ring us. Microbats as well. Microbats hide in winter and they could be anywhere around your home. They're looking for somewhere to stay warm. They're also pregnant now, and so we need to be called in immediately. If it's a false alarm, we don't care. We would prefer a false alarm than another animal dying.
Okay, excellent. Anything else, Jane?
No, that's the same. That's if there's one thing that people can take away from it, it's call as soon as you see them, because that is the greatest chance we have of getting them to survive.
Yeah. And also want to ask, what do bats mean to you both in your lives? If you can say it in like 30 seconds.
Well, when we're not looking after babies and rescuing, we're doing the education thing. So I guess they are pretty much our entire life.
Yeah. I wouldn't have a life without bats.
No, and we wouldn't want a life without bats.
Yeah. The bats are so lucky to have you both and the whole team. And Linda, shout out to Linda. Shout out to anyone else in the team.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
the whole team, the whole bat team.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're fantastic.
They are. We've got a great team.
And because we're all volunteers, as you know, and yes, we rely on public donations. We don't get funding, and we're all volunteers, so we do it for the love.
Then people can donate by going onto the website.
Going onto the website, it has details on the website if people would like to donate.
And we've also got the Chunga Field Day on the 24th and 25th of September. So come and visit us and talk to us.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank
you very much,
very much.
Bianca.
Thank you.
Thank you.